Hello, and welcome to a series that I'm calling Random Places, Random Conversations. This is episode 2. First episode we were out on the golf course. Today we're in the bedroom. Today we were supposed to be filming outside, and I was hoping to film outside, but we're in the bedroom today. If you're new to the channel, hello. If you're not, welcome back. I was asked a question on Boxing Day by someone. They said, if you could meet someone from the future in 20 years' time, what would you want to ask them? And that got me thinking, what would I want to ask them? Probably the main thing I'd be wanting to know is how many subs has my channel got? No, on a serious one though, like genuinely, if you could meet someone from 20 years' time, wouldn't the first question you ask be kind of low-key about yourself or about someone you know? Like if you think about that now. But today we're here going to be talking all about predictions for the years in 20 years' time. If you have any predictions yourself, get them in the comments down below. If you're not subscribed, subscribe already. And yeah, let's get into it. So the first topic I'm thinking of is realistically the use of AI. AI has become such a massive thing recently, and I think in 20 years' time, how big AI will be ridiculous. I use ChatGPT all the time, and I'm sure lots of you guys watching this video do use ChatGPT as well. I got ChatGPT to make a logo for this series, and that was all based off a few prompts. I used ChatGPT throughout second year and third year of uni, and got a 2-1, so chilling. But AI is ultimately where AI currently is now. We've got AI on our phones, we've got AI on our laptops, we've got AI in literally everything. And how developed AI will be in 20 years' time is unknown. And what will AI look like and what will real world look like in 20 years' time as a result of AI is something we could think about. And I remember when people were doing all these predictions about AI, I see a lot of these memes online. It's like, what we all thought AI was going to be for, and it's like these scenes from iRobot, but actually it's just being used to create images of like Donald Trump going on a date with like Selena Gomez, or Erling Haaland taking Bukayo Saka for a walk. Do you know what I mean? Things like AI is used for ridiculous AI imagings, things like creating recipes. So I could go on ChatGPT right now and I could say, give me a recipe for baking a cake, and it would. Whereas about maybe a couple years ago, you probably go into Google cake recipe, and then you scroll through about hundreds and thousands of like cake recipes online, and you'd probably to no avail have found anything. So I think that's something definitely in 20 years' time, AI. The predictions of what AI could do, I reckon, we'll probably have AI girlfriends, realistically. I genuinely think in 20 years' time, people will be married to robots, or in some way there'll be that kind of like, have you seen that film Her? There'll be some kind of like weird subculture online that just does stuff like that. I think even now, someone's probably going to get in the comments, probably someone I know is being like, yeah, mate, do I not know? Like I've got, Lisa, yeah, just AI, bro. Like, I think realistically there could be some type of thing as like online e-girlfriends that people kind of create a culture of and they want to do. And I think that's really not too far-fetched of an opinion. I also think AI potentially could come into use in terms like supermarkets, like, self-scan. We've seen in Uniqlo, you drop like a t-shirt into a box and it will scan it for you. And without even scanning a barcode or anything, it's recognised what product you've got, it charges you, and then you pay. Whereas in Tesco's, when you do self-scan, for those who pay for your stuff at self-scan, they scan it, and then all of a sudden, like, it's saying when you go on Tesco self-scan, you're scanning it, and then you just beep, 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 beep. But what if you literally have a bag of shopping, you use your scanner, bang, bap, 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 and your shopping's paid for? Like, imagine an invention like that. It's probably not far off. And I'll probably get some comments down below for some random tech guy being like, yeah, I've created it, mate. It's in my basement. Well, you know what's in my basement, mate. Next one, I've got time travel and space exploration. I think time travel, obviously, we all know, like, you can't go into the past, and like you can't go into the future. You could technically go to the future if you went and traveled on a train so quick that it takes a year to travel around the earth. You're technically time traveling. And the perception of time travel is that you could even go on a flight to Thailand and you've lost time, so you've technically traveled in time because you leave on Monday and you arrive on Wednesday. That's different times. You guys know. I'm not going to go into the specifics of it, but you guys will know all about flight and that kind of side of time travel. But space exploration, where will we be living on the moon? where will we be all living in 20 years time? Will we all be living on the moon? I think space exploration in 20 years time could be pretty big, and I think in 20 years time maybe we'll begin to see more of that sort of, more of these big tech gurus that go on these big trips out, you know, like we said all this thing, we saw that stuff about the Titanic where they go under the water. I think in 20 years time we could potentially be seeing stuff where it's like, you know, they're exploring more of the space, and I think that's really not a, you know, I think this is probably you're probably watching this video thinking like, obviously, like, duh, like, of course there's going to be further developments. But I think, honestly, 20 years time, we've seen what's happened in the last 24 years, or however long, you know, you want to go from time in terms of you're looking back when you look at where we were last year compared to now, and there's going to be changes in everything. But in 20 years time, we're talking about the year 2045. There's going to be a lot of differences, and I think something to do with space is going to be there, and there's going to be a massive change, and I think there's going to be more people, more normal, we say normal, more people that aren't these big billionaire tech gurus that, you know, for banter, just get a flight to space. And I think in 20 years time, there could be a lot more sort of, you know, like I say, more normal people doing it. And I think another big thing is this sort of planet talk, you know, what will the Earth look like? I think there'll be a lot more renewable sources of things that we create and things that we have. I think this whole idea about the kind of 3D printed meat, I think will become a massive thing. You know, we've seen a lot about the sort of carbon footprint of animals and about the sort of logistical sides and ethical sides of, you know, killing animals, where you can have one animal cloned for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of steaks forever. And things like that will become a lot more used. And I think in a prediction, I think there will be 3D printed restaurants, in terms of that maybe the restaurant itself has been 3D printed and the meat they sell and everything in there will be 3D printed as well. And that's something I think that is kind of scary about the way we're going forward. And I think the world, the way we're moving in terms of changes to things like that, is what we see a massive thing of in 20 years time. I think obviously there'll be changes in like clothing. I think a lot of, like, for example, clothing fibers, clothes be made out of different things, you know, like recycled stuff, you know, like I could do a massive poo after Nando's and it get turned into a t-shirt, like, you know, 20 years time, who knows, who's predicting. And I think this idea of 3D printing and reusing things in the form of food could be something crazy. You know, we've got a lot of, like, you know, we're talking deep here, we're talking landfills and all that. I don't know enough about it, you know, guys who are my, you know, eco donnies, get in the comments, you know, let me know about all this stuff. But, you know, I think definitely things like 3D printed meat will be a massive thing. 3D printed restaurant, you know, I think the 3D printed restaurant will be a big thing. You know, what's it, you're going out for a steak, but, you know, you're eating a 3D printed steak. You know, meat recycling, I think things like that, all sort of this idea where, like, things that are used now will then be sort of conversed, and they'll be converged with new things, and I think that's the way it will be in 20 years time. Next up, we got here on my points, we're going to be talking all about, you know, we've briefly touched on it about AI girlfriends. You know, what is the world of, you know, dating going to be like in 20 years time? You know, for all my donnies out there, you know, all the lads out there who are, you know, struggling to find women, don't worry, you're not alone there. What's it going to be like? You know, you've got all these apps now, but, like, is, you know, the convergence of, you know, AI going to come into use with this? And it's going to be like, you know, based off such and such data that's been inputted into a system that, like, systematically you're gonna likely to have a you know, friendship on the things with these people from, you know, miles away. It could even be, you know, it could even be someone in Vietnam, you know. Talking on other things that are kind of like popular, we've got here, I think what fashion's going to look like in 20 years. Now, as obviously you guys know from my videos, you know, I'm a drip lord, you know. Look what we've got here, we've got the clean, you know, fit check today, we got the city shirt, you know. Sorry, how much did your fit cost? You know, we got this 40 quid, you know, we got, oh yeah, oh, flashing the fucking chest for you, man. Can't get it up on camera, but yeah, grey joggers, £10, not £10, probably about 7 quid, so 50 quid fit, and then the socks, Christmas, glasses, honey. So yeah, but definitely I think fashion, that's a massive thing. In 20 years time, what's that going to look like? We've seen trends of people across the years, you know, retro, let's call it. In 20 years time, will we see people stepping out for a night out dressed like they're about to sign the Magna Carta? I think we could. I'm not making that as a prediction, but I think these fashion trends will go so wild, and they have gone so wild in the last few years, that maybe they either go even more wild and it'll just be chaos, or it will just be like back to kind of normal, let's just say, where, you know, people wear certain type of stuff, but I don't see that happening. I think we'll see so much, you know, globalization and so much sort of so many new things coming into play, apps, films, TV shows, people, that essentially it's chaos in terms of, you know, what that world is. And for me, I'll be honest, like, this is probably a point that, you know, all the guys that know me, lads, like, you know, I'm not a massive fashion donny, you know, so I honestly, I thought it's just quite a cool talking point. I genuinely think, like, in a 20 years time, what's the state going to look like, you know? Our fashion show's still going to be a thing. Like, you know, you see just like people walking down a catwalk dressed and stuff. They probably are, because it's a business, you know, at the end of the day. But I'm not really going to touch too much on that, because it's not really my forte. People start wearing less, so is it just become a thing where, like, it's just going to be normal, just like walking down the street in Speedos? I mean, some people do it now. Not me. People living longer, people living forever. That's probably another point in 20 years' time, is like, what is even going to happen in that sense? But like, advances in medicine, I think medicine's going to go so far in the next few years that cures for diseases and cures for things are going to be created that we don't even know existed right now, and small things are going to become existent. You know, no one could have predicted COVID, but, you know, I'm not saying in 20 years' time we're going to have another outbreak like that. Let's hope to God not. But, you know, I think people are going to live for so long, and people are going to live longer, that, you know, advances in medicine are going to go so far that, you know, it just becomes a thing. There's more of the personal side. It's like, where do I want to be in 20 years' time? You know, what, in 20 years' time, I'm going to be 41. You know, I'm going to be really officially, like, I'm going to be like unk stage. Like, you know, I don't want to think about it, but, you know, we got to think about these next 20 years for anyone, you know, similar ages to me. You know, this is grinding season, boys. You know, and if you're watching this video now, drop a subscribe, because in 20 years' time, you know, I could be something big, and you guys know it. You guys know. But in 20 years' time, you know, what's the world going to look like? You know, what house is going to look like? What's, you know, business is going to look like? What things are going to be out there that aren't out there now? You know, it's like, it's so hard to predict, but it's kind of a fun thing to think about. If you guys like that, yeah, who's saying ASMR challenge next? Maybe. Not really my thing, but I think honestly, you know, 20 years' time, it's going to be a crazy world. I got the builders in. Oh, is that a euphemism? Oh, that's just having the paints in as a euphemism for, you know, being on your, you know what I mean? Ultimately, what I'm thinking, the world is going to be a crazy place in 20 years' time. I think it's funny. I think take this video as a way of, you know, have a think yourself. What things do you reckon will happen in 20 years' time? Get down in the comments and let me know. That was episode 2, ladies and gentlemen. We're cutting a little bit prematurely. Obviously, we've got the sounds outside, and I don't want to make a disgraceful viewing pleasure video to be 10/10 every time. And yeah, if you're enjoying this series, you know what to do. Drop a comment, drop a like, drop a subscribe. Get in the comments down below, let me know what you're thinking. And yeah, episode 3 coming soon. More content is definitely coming out on the way. I've got some great videos planned for the next few weeks. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you on the next episode and the next video. And until then, peace.